Welcome in, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for joining me live here on our Friday afternoon. We've got a lot of news to get to, as we always do. And I want to start with a situation unfolding in Coweta County, where we know that a sheriff's deputy has shot and killed someone. And Doug Evans joins us live to make sense of it. Doug, I understand this all started with an off-road vehicle stop.
That's right. Apparently, this Coweta County deputy last night, Ariel, confronted a man who was on an off-road vehicle. It's been described to me as kind of a hybrid ATV golf cart kind of thing. And he pursued the individual because he was driving on the street, apparently, on this thing. And the man apparently went into his home and ran up the stairs and opened a window and began shouting at the deputy down below. The deputy was able to identify the man and decided to leave the scene because apparently because he identified the man, he didn't want to escalate this scene anymore, and the guy was being using abusive language and that sort of thing, I'm told. And so I'm told that the deputy left and then decided that he was going to take out warrants for this person's arrest. About 45 minutes later, someone calls 911 and reports the man has now left the home and is now armed and has taken off on the same vehicle and was leaving the neighborhood. That same deputy apparently confronts the man. We're told that there was an exchange of gunfire and that the man was hit. First aid was rendered there at the scene, and he was later transferred to Piedmont Noonan Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. The GBI is investigating. We expect, and this is new since we joined you at 11 o'clock, we expect further information from the GBI sometime today in the form of a press release that may shed additional details about this case, including the man's identity. So right now that investigation is continuing. We know very little else about how this all led up to him being chased and then coming back outside of his home, confronting this deputy again in a different neighborhood or someplace nearby. So all of those are questions that remain to be answered as of yet. Ariel?
Yeah, Doug, this is such an interesting story for a lot of reasons. I'm glad you were able to get that update from the GBI, that we should have more information from them soon. One of my big thoughts is just, why did that deputy feel like he needed an arrest warrant for this guy? He needed to go back and get that. Like something, maybe he realized who he was. What transpired for the deputy to say this is serious enough where it's an arrest warrant?
Right. I think that whatever probable cause he had to pursue the man in the first place, right? That's his probable cause for the arrest warrant. It's not unusual in chases where they deem it necessary to discontinue the chase or whatever if they have the suspect identified, if they have the vehicle identified, they can end their action and go get a warrant instead. We've seen this take place many times, so I think that that's what was going on. I think that he didn't want to further escalate this situation with this man in his home being abusive and that sort of thing. So I think that's what led to the decision to take the arrest warrant instead of rushing in and compounding what he thought was probably a difficult situation already.
Yeah, Doug, good point, good insight. As we look ahead here, information about this man's identity, definitely something we want to learn. And of course, any other big questions here before I let you go as the reporter on this, things that you're trying to figure out, that big things that you are curious about or want to know more about with this story, besides some of the things that we've talked about just now?
Yeah, I think, what led up to it is important. I think also, what was that exchange that led to him having to draw his weapon and defend himself with this man. We'd like to know more about that. Those are the sort of details that will probably come out in that GBI press release. The sheriff's office itself released information last night about this, initial information. And it's the GBI, I think, that's going to come back now as the investigating agency that's going to come back and kind of fill in those details that we're looking to get right now.
Yeah, Doug, thanks so much for joining us, breaking down what happened here with this story. Absolutely good to know. We're going to be getting more information soon. So, Doug Evans, thank you so much for joining me in the conversation. Guys, we're going to continue on here because I want to tell you about something that happened in Rockdale County. We know that police have found a body in a yard, and I'm going to go through where the story stands because this started as a domestic dispute in Rockdale County, and this happened Thursday morning on Setter's Trail in the Quail Run neighborhood. Deputies found a body in the backyard of the home, and the sheriff's office confirms a child was at the home at the time of this domestic dispute. Neighbors tell us they saw a child being treated at the scene and a toddler being held by a deputy, something that the neighbors witnessed that they shared with our crews who were on scene. We do know police are still investigating this incident. They've not released any new details about those who were involved. Another big story we're following here in the Fox 5 newsroom for you today is that the state of Georgia has been ordered to return roughly $150,000 in cash, multiple luxury vehicles, and high-end jewelry to rapper Young Thug. And the deadline to do all of this is by 5 o'clock this afternoon. A Fulton County judge dismissed the state's appeal in a civil forfeiture case tied to the YSL RICO investigation. So as a result, the state needs to return this. The information was first reported online by Thugger Daily. You may remember he became very popular for his coverage of this lengthy YSL trial right here in Fulton County. But in a shortly worded order, the Judge Paige Whitaker, ruled that prosecutors caused an unreasonable and unexcusable delay by failing to order a required transcript for their appeal. Court records actually show the state repeatedly requested the deadline extensions while implying the transcript was being prepared, but later admitted it never contacted the court reporter or ordered that transcript at all. So the judge found this delay exceeded 90 days, misled the court, and prejudiced Jeffrey Williams, also known as Young Thug, by continuing to deprive him of his property. And so because civil forfeiture is considered a quasi-criminal process, we know that this must be strictly construed against the state, and the court that ruled that property must be returned promptly without any further delay. So we're going to continue to keep you updated on this story, as I know we continue to follow all things related to that YSL RICO trial here in Fulton County. And as we continue along, something else I found really interesting is the story that we're going to go live to Kevin Stewart on today. And it actually involves citizens and police working together to take down a drunk driver in Villa Rica. We're getting a first look at that New Year's Eve video. Kevin, I just can't imagine how this all went down, so I'm glad you're joining us live to make sense of it.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff here. We're right off of I-20 in Villa Rica. This is exit 24. This whole takedown took place right back over here on this exit ramp. We talked to one of the people who was involved in this. There were actually two citizens who helped police this day, but we talked to a guy who was in Douglasville. He had an appointment off of Chapel Hill Road. This was New Year's Eve. He's driving westbound towards Carroll County, and he sees this car driving erratically, a white car, smart car, little car, and it hits a vehicle, and then it's going the wrong way, and then it hits the median, and then starts stopping and starting, and he's like, hey, what's going on here? There's a medical emergency? Is there something going on? And then all of a sudden, when that car got back over here on the ramp, it stopped. He said it was going over 100 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden just slammed on the brakes. And that's when he got really concerned. He was talking to 911. His mother, and his little girl, only only, I believe, 2 years old in the car. And then he said this is his opportunity. And what he ended up doing was, along with another guy who got out of the car, is blocking that car. He was right in front of it and blocked it off and allowed police to get in there and make the arrest. And the video that we have of the dash cam and the body cam shows the police apprehending him, knocking out the window, and the guy is just out of it. And talked to the sergeant over CID with Villa Rica Police. He said the guy was in a zombie-like state, and they took him in, and he has since been charged with DUI. I want you to listen to this hero citizen and the police right now.
5 miles from Douglasville all the way westbound to where we are here, and it happened right up to where the concrete wall ends right there. And I noticed he stopped. I didn't know if maybe medical emergency, his car gave out on him, or what the case may be. And when he stopped, I was behind him, so I swerved over into this emergency lane here. And I noticed he was stopped there for a good 10 seconds or so. So I told the dispatcher on the phone, I said, you know, this is my time. So I backed up and I left about 3 foot in front of his car, you know, to get out and, you know, try to render aid or whatever the case may be. And that's when he proceeded to rear end my truck and had to get extracted out of the vehicle and all that good stuff.
Were you scared at all?
No, not at all.
It's not something we advocate, you know, citizens taking matters into their own hands, but these citizens believed that they were doing what they needed to do to protect themselves and others because it was a very dangerous situation to the public.
Yeah, that was definitely a very dangerous situation. And 32-year-old David Gage Lindsay of Villa Rica has been charged with DUI, and he will be charged with some other crimes, we understand. So definitely a frightening situation. You see that video. It's absolutely incredible. But you heard the police say, hey, we don't recommend this, but they appreciate the hard work by those two citizens. Ariel?
Yeah, you know, Kevin, your description was reminiscent of Mario Kart, just this visual you painted of this man careening down the road, bumping into various people. I can see why police would not recommend anyone get involved and how this could ultimately be very, very dangerous. But at the end of the day, it's nice that we saw Spencer, or rather Jason, I think James, I'm making sure I get his names right, James Humphreys. The guy
James Humphreys.
The guy who helped police. Just good that he was in the right place at the right time and was able to actually help in a meaningful way. As we look ahead to this, any further questions you have about the story or things you want to figure out for people who may have questions, things you think our audience should be aware of?
Well, one of the things that the police department did make a point of saying that, in addition to how much they appreciate the help, but they don't recommend this, they say that when you're driving on the road, be aware of what's around you. And this is a good situation to keep in mind, because this could have been so much worse. And because if you're not familiar with this area, I mean, we're right, exit 24 is the Carrollton Villa Rica exit off of Highway 61, which is right in front of me. That is the main artery through Carroll County. Lots of traffic, and if this guy had gotten across to the intersection, and there definitely would have been something really tragic that would have happened. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Mr. Humphreys made a point of saying that, and he was very modest, and he said, you know, this is something that he felt like he had to do to save his family that was in the car and the other folks in there, and he said he didn't mind doing that.
Yeah, you know, when you asked him, Kevin, if he was scared at all, and he was like, not one bit. I was like, wow, really? Not even a little? But he was so confident. And I think you point out a really good thing, which is just staying alert, because he wouldn't have been able to help if he were on his phone. He wouldn't have been able to help if he were not paying attention to his surroundings. So, Kevin, thanks so much for joining us live.
Yeah, and I want to add something else, Ariel, real quick. These two gentlemen are going to be honored by the City Council here in Villa Rica coming up on February 10th.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Okay, good. I love that. Kevin, hopefully you can go to that ceremony, maybe bring us a little tidbit, but we'll see what unfolds in February. So, Kevin Stewart, thanks so much for letting us know that, joining us live. Guys, we're going to move on here to some other stories that we're covering here nationally. I want to make sure that we get the latest in Minnesota, because as of right now, we know that more protests are expected across the country and heading into this weekend, both in Minnesota and across the nation. nation after back-to-back shootings involving Border Patrol and ICE agents in both Minnesota and Oregon. So Minnesota's prosecutor at this time, just today, is asking the public to share evidence of the woman who was involved in that ICE shooting, Renee Good. They want evidence from that shooting, and they want the public to share that evidence with their office. This comes as Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is designating today as a day of unity and calling for a moment of silence. However, people in Minneapolis are still speaking out against ICE and Wednesday's deadly shooting. Despite the governor's calls for peace, people are very fed up. Minneapolis police, we know, were removing barriers today and reopening roads near where this shooting happened. But 2 days after Renee Nicole Good, a mother of 3, was shot and killed by a federal agent after allegedly swerving her car towards him, we know this incident has sparked protests across the nation. And the Trump administration continues to say that that officer shot in self-defense. But it's not just the events of what happened that's dividing the nation. It's also the investigation and how we're moving forward, because the Justice Department is blocking the state or denying the state access from participating in this investigation into the shooting. We know that Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has said in a news conference that Minnesota simply does not have jurisdiction in this case because it is a federal shooting. However, Minnesota leaders tell a different story. They say there is basis in the law, and in just a little bit, I'm going to let you listen in to the attorney of Hennepin County there in Minnesota, where Minneapolis is the county seat there, to get an understanding of what they had to say today. But the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension says it's reluctantly withdrawing from this investigation. We do know more protests are possible over the weekend. Governor Walz says he does not want additional help from the federal government, but he said he is putting the Minnesota National Guard on standby in case of anything that were to go wrong. I'd like to let you listen in to Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, and then after that, we're going to listen to the attorney of Hennepin County, Mary Moriarty, as she explains what her office is doing in conjunction with the Attorney General's office of Minnesota with the next steps of the investigation. Now, when we listen to Jacob Frey, as he spoke earlier today, the transmission from that news conference was a little garbled, so I'm going to tell you right now it gets cut off at the end of his speech, but then we're going to go into what the attorney of Hennepin County had to say. So let's listen to both.
In Minneapolis, when a tragedy strikes, there's one word that summarizes what is most important, and that word is integrity. This is not the time to bend the rules. This is a time to follow the law. This is not a time to hide from the facts. This is a time to embrace them, making sure that we're pushing for transparency every step of the way. The fact that Pam Bondi's and this presidential administration has already come to a conclusion about those facts is deeply concerning. The facts that from the very beginning they're calling the victim a domestic terrorist, they're calling the actions of the agent involved as some form of possible.
Okay, so that is Mayor Jacob Frey as he was speaking. And like I told you, the transmission was a little garbled, but I wanted you to be able to listen to a little bit of what he had to say. Let's now listen to Mary Moriarty, the attorney in Hennepin County there in Minnesota.
This decision that happened in this case where her life was taken in Hennepin County. It does not matter that it was a federal law enforcement agent. To be sure, there are complex legal issues involved when a federal law enforcement officer is involved. But the law is clear. We do have jurisdiction to make this decision. We cannot make any decision, however, if there is not evidence submitted to our office. So we are moving forward in collaboration with the Attorney General's office and the BCA to preserve any evidence and ensure that it can be reviewed. To that end, we are asking those in our community who have information or who have video or photos of the event to submit that information to our office. We are providing a secure link where people can submit this evidence. The link can be accessed using the QR code, which is displayed on the screen beside me. The link will also be posted on our website, hennepinattorney.org. Along with the evidence itself, we are asking people to provide contact information so investigators can follow up. Because it is important to collect and preserve evidence properly, we ask people to provide accurate and complete information on the form on our website. I know our community wants fast answers. I know this city feels again as if it is at the center of a national fight as you are processing everything that is happening here. And I wish I could promise a swift decision and the resolution that you want, but I cannot promise you that right now. Here is what I can promise you. Our offices will work together and have been working together on this and will continue to do so. We will continue to work around the clock to preserve, gather, and review as much evidence as we possibly can. We will be transparent with you to the degree that we can. We know that there will continue to be many questions. This is an active investigation, and I do not want to jeopardize any future decisions or processes, so there are likely to be many questions that we cannot answer right now. We know what our job is. It's not to play politics, but to ensure a thorough investigation, seek justice, and to be fair to all involved. And we are committed to doing that.
Okay, you were just listening to Mary Moriarty, Hennepin County attorney there, talking about what her office is going to be doing in Minnesota to try to get answers in this shooting, despite the fact that federal authorities have said that Minnesota does not have jurisdiction to be a part of the investigation, something we're going to keep you updated on. But I'd like to continue to keep you updated about another shooting that happened involving Border Patrol agents, this time in Portland, Oregon. The difference here is that the people shot were believed to be subject of an investigation and not observers like Renee Good was believed to be. We do know that when we look at this situation, officials say 2 people were shot during an incident with federal immigration agents. As we look at this, the FBI is taking a look at the investigation. They have taken over. And according to the Department of Homeland Security, Customs and Border Protection agents were engaging in a targeted stop of a vehicle. Officials say it was carrying people with alleged ties to a Venezuelan gang. DHS says the driver of the vehicle tried running over law enforcement after they identified themselves. That caused an agent to fire off their weapon in self-defense, and the car then escaped from the scene. Portland police say later they received reports of a man needing medical help and found the man and woman who were in the car, and they are now getting hospital treatment. So we've seen protests erupt also in Portland, Oregon, after this shooting and the one there in Minneapolis. But I'd like to continue on because of these 2 incidents. We've seen growing interest now in constitutional observer training. A group of immigrant advocates has been holding these trainings in St. Paul, Minnesota, and they are growing across the country. And the session comes, as we know, in wake of the deadly shootings involving ICE and Customs and Border Protection agents. For some, the death of Renee Good has been a wake-up call to action. She was believed to be a constitutional observer watching ICE agents' activity when she was killed. We do know that more than 300 people showed up for a second of 30 constitutional observer trainings there in Minnesota. We know that the Immigrant Defense Network is going to be hosting more of these trainings over the next few weeks. But other than having a moment of silence for Renee Good, organizers of these trainings say they are not changing the training tactics for community members. They say the purpose of the training is to observe and document ICE activity. They say observers are never to interfere with federal agents and to obey their commands, but they say observers are there to make sure the rights of detained individuals are not violated. So that is the purpose, as they say it, for these trainings, and something we're going to continue to keep you updated on. We also know that organizers with these trainings say that if you're a constitutional observer, you'll be given badges and whistles to let community members know if an ICE agent is nearby, but you're not to impede agents' work or to get involved in that way. So that's something we'll continue to follow. Here at home in Atlanta, we have seen some protests in wake of these shootings. They were peaceful. Protests actually happened in downtown Atlanta last night. More than 100 people marched in downtown, and they started at the Georgia State Capitol and marched to the Atlanta ICE field office. They paused for a short time before marching back to the Capitol. Police here in Atlanta blocked traffic and kept a close eye on the protesters, who stayed peaceful throughout the march, and no arrests arrests were made. As we continue, I want to get you a final check of a story as it relates to Venezuela, because today is a pretty significant day in that President Donald Trump is meeting with oil executives, trying to get them to invest in the country. We also know that political prisoners are being released. President Trump said the Venezuelan government is giving the United States exactly what it wants, and that's expected to continue, at least for now. Leaders in Venezuela actually released high-profile political prisoners today. Some have been behind bars for years, and many are part of the opposition to former leader Nicolas Maduro, who was arrested by the United States over the weekend. President Trump has called this move a smart gesture and claiming credit, saying he's working well with the new Venezuelan government. You may remember Vice President Delcy Rodriguez was elected to power after Maduro was arrested by U.S. forces. The president also says this prisoner release is going to prevent further U.S. military action in Venezuela. President Trump actually wrote on social media, quote, "I have canceled the previously expected second wave of attacks, which looks like it will not be needed," end quote. U.S. forces in the area do remain on alert. We know that Friday, today, they seized another Venezuelan-linked oil tanker in the Caribbean as U.S. forces consolidate their control on Venezuela's oil supply. We do also know that the president today is meeting with the heads of 14 American oil companies, the 14 biggest American oil companies here at the White House. He's trying to get them to invest with $100 billion into Venezuela's oil market. But Big Oil says it wants guarantees their money won't be stolen. We do know that a lot of these oil companies previously lost money when their investments poured into Venezuela and then Nicolas Maduro claimed power again. So they say that they want to make sure they have guarantees that their money's not going to go away. The president says he's going to meet with Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado next week at the White House. You may previously remember the president said she did not have support to be Venezuela's leader. Nevertheless, he plans to meet with her next week, and we'll be sure to keep you updated on that. Guys, coming up here, we're going to get a check of your weather forecast and some other stories straight ahead. And I'm checking your TikTok comments and YouTube here in the break. If you have any questions, things you want me to answer that maybe you didn't hear if you're just now joining, I'll try to get to those coming up. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstad. Thanks so much for streaming here with us. If you've been outside, it does not feel like January, but that is going to change. We're going to send it over to our meteorologist, Greg, for the latest.
Well, we're finally getting some much-needed rains here across North Georgia. That's a welcome relief. Obviously, we've been fighting some drought conditions. We're going to have some decent rains here, not only for the rest of today and going into tonight, but continuing into Saturday before we return to reality. So, you know the old saying that goes, if you get thunder in January, you get snow within a week. That's not something we need to keep watchful eye on there. That's a little tease for you. So anyway, we're seeing the rains here increasing here across portions of North Georgia. This will be increasing as we go in for it tonight and into tomorrow, as we're going to be looking at above normal temperatures continuing for the next couple of days. And then things are going to turn abruptly colder, especially as we go into Sunday. All right. So again, much colder as we go into the new work week. And then we got not only one shot that we're dealing with that's going to cool us down on Saturday into Sunday, but we got one coming a little bit later in the week on Thursday. It's going to be a little interesting. I have to watch that very closely. Now, as we go and take a look at our severe weather outlook here for Saturday, this has just been updated here to include a level 2, level 1 for us, so most of North Georgia here, but down toward LaGrange, getting a slight level 2 in here going in for your Saturday. So watch out for that. Again, looking for some isolated severe thunderstorms, and obviously there'll be a slight tornado risk with this as well. Now, as we go and look at our hour-by-hour forecast here, as we kind of watch the showers and storms here increasing here across the area for tonight, going in for this evening, and again, some beneficial rains. Could see some localized amounts. We're talking upwards of 4 inches in some locations here. I'm going to show you that here in a minute, as we're going to continue with the rains, just waves of it. And again, some of this heavy action down here will need to be watched closely as it comes across, a potential severe. And then as this comes on through, should taper off some showers as we go into the Saturday afternoon and evening hours. Not looking bad. And then we're going to clear out and turn much colder. Look at this. We cleared everything out here going into Sunday, and Sunday morning we're back in the 30s and 40s, and it'll be a struggle to warm up on Sunday, folks. It'll also be a bit breezy. There's going to have a bit of bite to it. So if you put those jackets away, those winter heavy coats, you're going to need them back as we go into this upcoming forecast period. Now, as far as the rainfall total amounts are concerned, okay, again, let's look at some localized heavy readings up here, getting upwards of 2 inches plus up here near Gainesville, almost 4 inches there in Canton, 3.5 inches up near LJ. So everybody up here getting some pretty good needed rain. So the lake basins like Lake Lanier, Lake Chateau, areas like up there near Blue Ridge also will get some much needed rains and help bring those lake levels up at least a little bit. Now, it's not a drought buster, but it's something we definitely need here across our area. So our forecast weekend, again, going to be 70 degrees, pretty mild there on Saturday, 90% chance of showers and storms, but we cool right back down to 48 after morning low of 41 on Sunday. So turning much colder going into Sunday, and then going into Monday and Tuesday morning, we're going to see lows getting down below freezing. So we got below freezing here on Monday and Tuesday. We're pretty set, I think, with this forecast right through Tuesday and going into Wednesday. The question mark is going to be on Thursday. Thursday, right now, the new model guidance is coming in here. We're waiting on the European to come in here to kind of to check the two. It's turning much colder here, and with the cold air coming in here on Wednesday night going into Thursday morning, we could see a wintry mix of some flurries and snow showers across North Georgia going into Thursday, and then going into the following weekend, it gets even more interesting. So the bottom line here is that we're transitioning into a winter weather pattern, one that is more conducive for the potential snows here across the southeast. Just know that it's going to change day to day as we go through the next couple of weeks. So it's got a little bit of fun here in the weather office.
All right. Well, thanks, Greg, for the update. And I'll be sure to make sure my wardrobe is planning accordingly for these whiplash in temperatures. Guys, really quickly, let me tell you about some other stories we're following, because this may affect your family. I'd like to tell you about a car seat recall that's happening over safety concerns. And as of right now, this is a popular car seat that a lot of families may use. If you recognize it, just know that the Even Flow company has issued it, and it is a voluntary recall for nearly 75,000 of its all-for-one 4-in-1 convertible car seat. The affected products were manufactured between January 2022 and June 2024, so you can check the label on your car seat. But according to a National Highway Traffic Safety Administration report, there are concerns this car seat may shift positions when it's rear-facing. And as many of you put your car seat in like this, that could cause concerns. Even Flow says there's been no reports of injuries linked to the recalled car seats at this time. time, but they want to make sure that people stay safe. So you may get an offer, a letter emailed to you starting January 26th, offering a free replacement. You don't have to return the car seat, and they are safe to keep using in the meantime, but keep in mind the company may be adding, offering you a replacement if you're concerned. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Here coming up, we're also going to check in about where we're headed with the Peach Bowl in downtown Atlanta. A lot of people expected to come to Mercedes-Benz as we watch the semifinals for the college football playoffs. And our Ray Urena is going to show us how this is happening and the economic impacts coming up. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for being here with me live. We are going to talk about a big sporting event happening this weekend in Atlanta, actually tonight. And we're talking about the Peach Bowl. We've got Indiana playing Oregon, and our Ray Urena joins us live because, Ray, thousands of Oregon and Indiana fans expected to be there in downtown for the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Tell me, how is this going to affect our city? I understand there might be some good economic impacts on the way.
Yeah, Ariel, we spoke to a Georgia State professor who tells us that's going to be about a $50 million economic impact. But I'm telling you, already in downtown, hours from the game, we're about 5 hours away from kickoff right now. And everywhere you look, it's crimson red or Oregon green as these fans get even closer to kickoff and, of course, getting to their season, watching their teams in person. And a lot of these fans, Ariel, they've flown in from all over North America. We talked to some fans who are, of course, flying in from are flying in from Indiana, but I did talk to one woman. She told me that she flew in from Vancouver, Canada, just to watch her Indiana Hoosiers play tonight at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Now, these two teams last played against each other back in October, with Indiana beating Oregon at home in Eugene. And earlier today, we spoke with Dr. Kyle Townsend, who's a professor at Georgia State University. And as I mentioned earlier, he's expecting about a $50 million economic impact just from tonight's game, which he says is about a 15% increase over last year's bowl game. And Townsend says it's mainly due to two fan bases having to fly across the country to watch their team play in person. All right. It looks like we're having some issues there, but Dr. Townsend says that they have other things making the case for that as well. He says that the cost of things increasing slightly, that's also part of it, but it's just absolutely a huge game. And of course, city officials say that traffic is going to be pretty heavy in downtown Atlanta for the next couple of hours. So they're saying if possible to take MARTA or rideshare to try and get ahead of the traffic and try to beat the traffic area.
Yeah, Ray, that makes a lot of sense. You know, I was looking through my notes and just kind of as I was preparing to talk about this story with you, thinking about exactly the point that Dr. Townsend said, the fact that you have very different fan bases. I mean, Indiana in the Midwest, and then you have Oregon all the way in the Pacific Northwest. Like, that's pretty far from Georgia. And yet both of these fan bases are going to convene right here in downtown. It's pretty remarkable.
Absolutely, it is, Ariel. And to Dr. Townsend's point, he says that because they're so far away, it's more of a commitment. So they have to stay in the hotels, they have to eat out, they have to support all these local businesses in and around downtown, or even if they're doing short-term rentals, some of them are doing Airbnbs outside of city limits. That's what at least a couple of them have told me. They're walking around and just supporting local businesses. Just down the street at the Hudson Grill, it looks like a lot of Indiana Hoosier fans were holding a get-together before tonight's game. There was a lot of them out there, so definitely a lot of people coming out of town, and for some of them, this is their first impression of Atlanta, so this is probably what they're going to take away, is just all these local businesses and supporting all these local businesses, Ariel.
Great point. I bet for a lot of fans, it is their first time here in our city. I'm going to point out this, there is a celebration today for fans, and I'm looking through my notes. It looks like you can go there around 2:30 this afternoon. So really, it's open just 10 minutes ago. Georgia World Congress Center Hall C. We know there's going to be a massive pep rally with both teams' official bands and cheerleaders. Event is free to all fans, and it's going to go until an hour before kickoff. So if you see some fans around you, Ray, who don't know where to go or what to do, you can point them to the Georgia World Congress Center. Before I let you go, what does the traffic situation look like? Has it increased since you've been out there? Trying to give people an idea if they're going to the Peach Bowl tonight.
Yeah, already we started seeing police started to close some roads in front of Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That's pretty normal for whenever big games like this happen. There's of course construction going on behind us for some of the neighborhoods around there, so that's limited some lanes as well. And of course, you just brought up Fan Fest over there at the Georgia World Congress Center. That started 10 minutes ago, and everybody's flocking over there. There's also been a lot of interest in the College Football Hall of Fame, which is also just down the street from that Fan Fest. So traffic is definitely pretty heavy right now, Ariel. If you are coming to downtown, expect some delays.
Thanks for the update, Ray. I do appreciate it, and good luck. It seems like you have a fun assignment this afternoon, so I hope you enjoy it, get to talk to some fans, and may the best team win. Ray, thanks so much. We're going to continue along here because I want to let you know about some other items that affect your wallet. The tax filing deadline starts here on January 26th. We do know the IRS is now letting us know when we can start filing our taxes. And so the tax season does start, or does have an official date, but tax experts say you should file early this year, and that's really because you're going to start filing your 2025 taxes, but the filing process could face delays this year because we know that the IRS updated its systems to improve filing efficiency, so there's some new changes there, as well as tens of thousands of IRS workers were laid off last year. So as we look at the situation this year, we want to make sure that you have plenty of time to get your taxes in. The average tax return in 2025 was $3,167. Acting IRS Commissioner Scott Bessent says it will likely increase this year because of provisions enacted in last summer's tax and spending package. So that's just something to keep in mind. Another thing I want to get back to you guys on, something we discussed yesterday here at 2 o'clock, was how effective is it going to be to ban investors from buying single-family homes? President Trump says he's been taking steps, or will be taking steps, to ban large institutional groups from from buying these single-family homes, and the goal is to make housing more affordable for home buyers. Some mortgage brokers, though, are raising doubts that this is the way to lower prices. Many would be first-time home buyers, as you know, you may be one of them, can't afford the American dream. A lot of studies have talked about how private sector investors can drive up home prices by 20 to 30%. One mortgage broker in Central Phoenix, Jeremy Schechter, is skeptical about banning investors from the market because he says it's not really going to have a big impact in the long run. He says only a small percentage, roughly about 2% of overall rental properties here in the United States, are owned by major corporations. So that's his take on the matter. President Trump posted to Truth Social saying he's taking steps to ban large institutional groups. Some senators say it's a good idea to ban them from buying single-family homes. Others say it's just not good enough. Specifically, Democrats say that the Trump administration needs to do more to help with affordability and home buying. We also know that one of the ways experts have said could be more effective is by raising wages. Having higher wages gives people more money to spend, and lowering interest rates. Again, critics would point out that the fear there is inflation increasing, but also something that we're going to continue to keep you updated on as we move forward with what the White House wants to do with this. I also want to let you know about something as you start to file your taxes this year. Something that we're continuing to look at. Two items. Now, first of all, student loans and how wage garnishment is going to work, because those wage garnishment notices are going to start going out, and they're going out to defaulted, that's the key word, defaulted student loan borrowers nationwide. If you're not sure if you're in default, check with your provider to see where your student loan stands, and you can take appropriate steps to take it out of default if you're able to. Federal student loan borrowers are facing this new reality that this pandemic-era pause on student loans is long gone. As of June 2025, we know the Education Department figures show that more than 5 million borrowers are in default on their student loans. It accounts for 7% of the roughly $1.6 trillion in student loan debt, and another 4 million borrowers are in serious delinquency, meaning no payment in over 90 days. This number could rise with changes to repayment programs. One economics professor says that the high cost of living can contribute to this, as many of you might chime in on and say that you may have used your student loan money to afford groceries or other necessities. This week, the Department of Education says it's going to be sending out about 1,000 notices to defaulted borrowers, with more to follow in the months ahead. So we know debt collection efforts had been paused for 5 years, but last spring, the Trump administration put them back on the table. They made their plans to resume clear, so you guys have your heads up. One wealth management advisor with Northwestern Mutual says if you're in default, try to make a plan, come up with a way to get out of this, and you can stop garnishment by also requesting a hearing or consolidating your loss. But whatever you do, don't ignore the notice if you get it about your student loans. If you'd like, though, to deduct your car loan from your taxes, that could be on the table for you this tax season. As part of the One Big Beautiful Bill, you can now deduct your car loan, but with some caveats. Not all car loans qualify. So let me take you through it. The deal is, if you buy a new vehicle made here in the United States between now and 2028, you can deduct up to $10,000 a year in auto loan interest. And get this, there's no itemization needed for your taxes to get that windfall. It's an above-the-line deduction, meaning it's available to hardworking families taking the standard deduction as well. Secretary Bessent actually posted on X saying the deduction helps lower monthly costs and makes car ownership more affordable when families need it most. It gives buyers an incentive to choose American, and the administration is looking to boost domestic manufacturing after a tough year of tariffs. So that's something that they're doing to encourage car sales of American-made vehicles. A note here, though, the deduction phases out for people making over $100,000 or $200,000. That's jointly. So keep in mind, if you make that kind of money, this won't apply to you. If that's not you, go ahead, check your VIN number, because if that car was born here in the United States of America, you could be looking at a huge refund. The IRS is expected to release the full list of qualifying models here later this month, so we'll keep you updated on that. But coming up, we're going to talk about more ways to protect your wallet. We're talking about how to cut energy costs, and our Chris Rosenthal is going to show us how here soon. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstad. Thanks so much for joining me here live on your Friday afternoon. Today is National Cut Your Energy Costs Day. What a better time to do it than January, when we've been paying for air conditioning and heating all in 1 month. So Chris Rosenthal is taking us to a solar home community here in Marietta. Chris, what's this all about? How are they saving money?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's kind of a funny day to be talking about solar panels because it's a little cloudy outside, but I'm in the greenhouse community here in Marietta, where Beazer Homes is building 591 homes, all of them with solar panels. It'll be the largest solar panel community in Georgia. A solar panel on every single house, and they say it'll save a lot of money. So I'm here with Andrew. He's with Beazer Homes, and talking about the savings that people will have.
Yeah, Chris, thanks for coming out. So, you know, for us, we're America's #1 energy efficient builder. And so what that means is it's been about a 40-year commitment of energy building practices, and this greenhouse community is really our extension of that. And for us, it's really energy efficient homes. On top of that, we have a solar on every single home, as Chris alluded to. And with that, on average, utility bills in this community will average $50. And so as you think about our homes, you know, if you think about homes in Cobb County, they average around $200. It's about $150 savings at our community, regardless of what floor plan, what community you're in, because we have 4 distinct product lines here. And so it's a really timely savings given the strain on affordability, and it's something that we're really excited to deliver to homeowners.
And you still have a power bill, you're still connected to the grid, but this supplements it, and like you said, it makes up a big difference in the bill.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the savings are very important, and we know right now that matters a lot to homeowners, but it also comes with comfort and the cleanliness of the air and the peace and quiet and the sound of the home with a tighter thermal envelope and better insulation and a more consistent airflow. It provides more than just dollar savings, which is really exciting.
And you know, for those people who may not have access to a solar panel in their home or come here, sure, but there are things that you guys are doing that they can do as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, of course, we encourage anyone to come out and see us here off Bells Ferry, but there are things that you might be able to do today that could save you some dollars on the energy and your utility costs. So this year, you know, we have a smart thermostat. You know, I encourage those that, whether it's a smart thermostat or just a standard thermostat, you know, adjust it to the way you live, you know, where your active hours are, what your down hours, when you're there, when you're not there. I think some other things that I think of, Chris, when it comes to, you know, quicker energy savings, appliances. You know, if you go to your home improvement store, you know, you should be able to see most stores will have an energy rating on it. It shows you your energy bill. Look at that. Might be a really good, easy way to save some dollars on your energy bills.
Gotcha, excellent. Yeah, and also, you know, windows and putting you know, good curtains up, keep some of the sun out. So lots of good options, and of course, you know, those solar panels, they can save quite a bit of money on your power bill every month.
Absolutely.
Chris, I really appreciated this tour, and I know we're going to get another look here coming up at 3 o'clock. So interested in these ways we can save money. I think that he already touched on some really good ones, and like you were saying, treating your doors, your windows, just places where you're going to do the most work to try to keep cool air in or hot air in, depending on what you're wanting based on the seasons and the temps of the year. So thanks for this look. We'll check back in with you here coming up at 3. Something else I want to let you guys know about here as we continue is a way that you can clean out your old junk, parts, places, things to recycle, like maybe you have a few tires. We're going to go out to Forest Park. Eli Jordan shows us how we can do it.
That's right. I am in Forest Park, where they are doing an Operation Clean Sweep tomorrow. What is a clean sweep? Well, that is where if you have a bunch of garbage, trash at your house that you haven't had an opportunity for the garbage people to come and pick up, sanitation workers come and pick up those old furniture, mattresses or whatever. Well, this is an opportunity to get rid of that stuff for free. And joining me right now is the Director of Public Works here at Forest Park, Alton Matthews. Mr. Matthews, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Eli. How are you?
I'm doing all right. So tell me about this clean sweep. Why are you guys doing it?
Well, it's a quarterly event that we have in partnership with Waste Management WM. It gives residents an opportunity to dispose of additional bulky items that they may not get a chance to get rid of during regular pickups.
So what kind of items can they bring and what kind of items can they not bring?
So right behind you is some items that they cannot bring. We don't want building materials, which is concrete, dirt, bricks, cinder blocks, flammable materials, gasoline and stuff, but they can also bring furniture, paint, but it has to be dried with kitty litter and other household items.
All right, so no canisters of any kind, because these are flammable. Those are actually pretty dangerous if they're to be crushed and compacted or whatever. And then we got the paints here, and that's no good for the environment. So keep these out and keep your bricks. And
who
brings dirt to the dump? But yeah, I mean, no dirt, no rocks, no bricks or canisters. So tell me again, we can bring furniture. What are some other items that are ideal for this?
Household items, bulky items that are in the house that they want to get rid of.
So you guys have been doing this for quite some time, right?
Yes, sir.
So tell me, why do you, I mean, do a lot of people take advantage of this opportunity?
Oh, it's definitely a great opportunity for residents, especially our legacy residents that can't move stuff around and get stuff, they got stuff built up in the house. So this is an opportunity. They get assistance. They know about this event. It's put on the website. It's publicly out there for the residents, and they can come and bring this stuff and schedule it to come in to the event on that day.
If I have an old Christmas tree I want to get rid of, could I bring it down here?
Sure.
I guess this is a part of the year where people have a lot of extra refuse and things like that to get rid of. They don't know what to do with, right?
That is correct.
And of course, like many municipalities, I guess there's regulations on, what all you can set next to your garbage can. You can't really set next things to your garbage can. And once the garbage can is full, and you got more garbage left, well, you just got to wait till the next
week. Yes.
And so this is when people can just take advantage and get rid of their furniture. I mean, mattresses are good, TVs are good.
That is correct.
So, do you guys have problems like also too? Old tires. You guys have problems with old tires being dumped?
I'm happy you brought that up. 4 tires per resident.
4 tires per resident? You can bring tires?
Yes, sir.
But just 4 tires?
4 tires per resident.
And who can take advantage of this?
Only Forest Park residents.
And what do they need to bring with them when they come up here?
They need to bring proof of residency, IDs. Generally, we check driver's license and zip codes.
All right, so and they need to come out here, and this is where it's all going to go happen, and it's at 4853 Springdale Road.
That is correct.
And you guys do this a couple times a year, and I guess they can go to the website and check out when the next one's going to happen, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's at forestparkga.gov/publicworks.
That is correct.
Awesome. Well, Alton Matthews, thank you so much. And Desi Huff, you operate the street sweeper here. She's one of the heroes that keeps Forest Park clean. And so come on out tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Take advantage of this clean sweep out here at Forest Park. Get rid of your refuse. No chemicals, no canisters. But you can bring your furniture, your old mattresses, your old TVs, things like that. Get rid of it. And it's for free. Come on out here to 4853 Springdale Road tomorrow between 8 and 4 if you're a Forest Park resident. Back to you.
All right, Eli, thanks so much. A great way to get rid of some unwanted items that could be harmful for the environment, so thanks so much. Guys, we've got a lot of news ahead with Eric Perry. He's going to be hosting your 3 p.m. hour. I'm Ariel Onstad. It's great to be with you. Stay tuned. We've got more on what's next in Minneapolis and Venezuela coming up.
Hey there, and happy Friday. We made it through the work week, and what a week it has been. So many different stories taking place, not just in Atlanta, but all across the country, and we have you covered. But we do want to get you started with a look at what we are going to talk about a little bit in this 3 p.m. hour. Rapper Young Thug, we know it has been quite the journey over the past couple of years with the RICO trial. He's now out in this case here, but the state has been ordered by 5 p.m. to turn over jewelry, cars, and cash. Our Angelique Proctor breaking down the details. Many people want to know why this was ordered and all of the details behind that. She'll have us covered when it comes to that. And of course, the big story this week out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, after a woman shot and killed by an ICE federal agent there sparked protests across the country right here in Atlanta. And then there was a second shooting that took place by federal agents in Portland, Oregon. We'll have details in that as well. Let's get you to a live look. This will be Brazelton, and you can see the clouds starting to roll in. It is set to be a wet weekend here, some storms. We have the timing, as you know, we've been kind of lucky the past couple of days here, especially today. The temperature is warming up. But we want to begin with a flu surge, is what they are calling it, especially here in Georgia. We are one of the top when it comes to that. And you know, it's one of those things we talked a little bit about the weather, the up, the down, and that is one thing that's probably aiding in all of this. Our Tyler Fingard talking with EMTs. They are on the front lines of all of this. Tyler, does he say anything about why this might be or the cause of any of this and how they're handling it?
Well, yeah, so Eric, good afternoon to you. They are seeing a huge number of calls coming in, and it is reflecting what the CDC is saying is happening across the country. A brand new flu report came out today, and the CDC is actually saying that some of the indicators that we normally see with a flu season are actually going down finally, or are staying flat from week to week. But they are cautioning that they say it is far too soon to know whether this means that we have peaked and are now going down, because they say the holidays may have played a role in just the number of positive flu cases that are being tested, or in whether some people may not even actually go to get help at all. They may just stay at home and treat themselves at home. And so I want to roll some video full for you so you can see. We tagged along with American Medical Response today in Cobb County, and they are obviously, as you mentioned, Eric, some of the first responders who will end up getting calls when people are needing help. And so they say they're handling more flu-related 911 calls than usual this sick season. The company says ambulance crews in DeKalb County are extra busy when you compare it to last flu season. Crews have seen an increase of, get this, about 60% of calls about flu-like symptoms. The organization says a good percentage of the flu-related calls were non-emergencies, which could have been handled at home. AMR says the biggest concern is when symptoms become severe, like trouble breathing and chest pain, or if symptoms improve, then return with a high fever. What AMR is seeing in DeKalb County reflects what the CDC says is happening around the country. In that new report today, the CDC estimates at least 15 million people have gotten sick this season, up from 11 million just in the past report that came out on Monday. That has resulted in, they say, 180,000 hospitalizations and 7,400 deaths. The CDC says while indicators have decreased or remained stable this week compared to last, it's unclear if we've peaked or if the holidays played a role in the number of illnesses reported. Here in DeKalb County, though, AMR is asking people to really think before calling for an ambulance. Take a listen to what one of their managers told me earlier today.
Before you call 911, you really should be thinking, is this an emergency or is this an urgency? Do I just feel bad? I know for me, my wife makes fun of me whenever I'm sick. I'm like, I think the world is over. And so it's important to self-analyze. Can I breathe? Am I okay? Do I just need to lay down and relax, or is there a real emergency? My chest hurts and I can't catch my breath, and anytime I lay down, I'm wheezing and I'm having a hard time sleeping, or I'm having vomiting spells or diarrhea and I can't keep fluids down. If you can't keep fluids down, there's a high risk of dehydration, and then there is a need to go see a doctor.
Yeah, and so the CDC says a new variant that some have dubbed the super flu is to blame for all of the trouble this season. Right now, doctors are really urging everyone to get a flu shot. They say that is the best way to protect yourself from severe illness and hopefully to keep you out of the hospital because, again, we are seeing a lot of people getting sick with what is known as the H3N2 virus. Again, some doctors are just referring to it as the super flu. Obviously, this sick season is incredibly busy for a lot of people, including for first responders, ambulance operators, EMTs, and paramedics. And obviously, the hope is that this ends sooner rather than later because we know a lot of people are getting sick this year, Eric.
You know, Tyler, it's one of those things when I go to church or when I'm out at different events and stuff like that, it's always in the back of my mind. He talked about something so important. When should you go seek medical attention? I think that's something that many people struggle with. Should they go to an urgent care or an emergency room? Will you touch on that just a little bit? When will it cross over that threshold to seek or call 911 to get a little help there?
Yeah, so over the last few weeks, I've talked to a number of doctors for different stories we've done here on Fox Local and Fox 5 Atlanta. And really what everyone says is, in most situations, if you are a healthy adult, you may not need to actually see a doctor at all. You don't need a positive flu test to know that you are sick. You obviously feel very crummy. What they are saying is, if your symptoms are just incredibly severe, where over-the-counter medications like an acetaminophen or a ibuprofen can't lower your fever enough and you are staying very elevated. If you're having trouble keeping fluids down, you're throwing up, having weakness, having trouble breathing, things like that are times you need to go seek medical attention. Obviously, in some cases, if you are not able to get to a doctor yourself, yes, call an ambulance. That's what AMR was telling me today. But they say in some situations you can self-transport. Obviously, we know since COVID, telehealth has become huge. In those situations, they would be able to help you. And also remember, the earlier you can get diagnosed, if you are someone with compromised immune system or are not able to fight a virus like the flu, the earlier that you can know for the fact that you have the flu, the better, because there are antiviral medications out there like Tamiflu, which can actually help you fight the virus and hopefully keep you out of the hospital. And Tamiflu has to be taken just within a short period of time of you starting to have symptoms. So really, in that situation, if you are immunocompromised or you're having severe illness, the best thing to do is go early and try to talk to your doctor, your primary care physician. But it really just depends up to everyone else. I know I was told today by a friend of mine, her brother actually had to be transported via ambulance to the hospital today down in Florida because of flu-like symptoms. He was out and about, and all of a sudden he just felt terrible. And so what he had to do was get to the hospital because in previous times when he's had the flu, unfortunately he had developed pneumonia and other problems. And so really, it just really depends on you. You know your body best. That's really what doctors and EMTs are saying, because you just never know if the flu virus is going to take you out. You may end up with a severe or a high fever, but is it worthy of going to the hospital if you're not able to, or if you're able to just treat yourself at home, Eric?
Ingrid, thanks so much. I'm telling you, the flu is nothing to play with. All important information there. Tyler, thanks so much. We want to get out to our Angelique Proctor, and we're covering the story. Young Thug, that name has been in the news for years now as a big RICO case against him and several other people. And now we're learning, Angelique, that the state has been ordered to give back belongings. I mean, we're talking $150,000, some jewelry and vehicles. Walk us through it. People want to know why and all the deadlines there.
Well, good afternoon to you, Eric. We all have covered it, the YSL trial, really the longest criminal trial in Georgia history. I covered it, you covered it, it seems that everybody at the station did. Well, now the case is grabbing the headlines again, even though it is over. And that is because the YSL judge has recently ruled that the Fulton County DA's office must turn over all of that property that you were talking about, the property that Young Thug owned. We're talking luxury vehicles like Porsches, Corvettes, Mercedes, Lamborghinis, designer jewelry, and yes, $150,000 in cash. Well, Fox 5 spent the day talking to attorneys who really see this as another embarrassing misstep by the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. It turns out that property, which totals more than $1 million, was taken during a forfeiture proceeding, and that is actually civil action, not criminal action. election. So according to the court order, the DA's office missed a critical transcript deadline.
It's just not paying attention to details in the nicest way I could say it. And, you know, like I said, Brian Steele's not the lawyer you should be making procedural errors with. I mean, because he's going to come back and say, hey, look, he knows the law, man. He's been doing this a long time. He's been effective. So he says, hey, look, you didn't hold the hearing in the prescribed amount of time. Now you're delaying the appeal, claiming that you're asking for a transcript. And he probably was involved in understanding that the transcript had never been ordered.
And so these attorneys are calling this a misstep of mammoth proportions. Fulton County Superior Court Judge Paige Whitaker has ordered that all the property and the cash be returned to Young Thug by 5 p.m. today. So the clock is definitely ticking. Williams was banned from Atlanta for his first few years of his 15-year probationary sentence for racketeering. Now, the legal community calls this really an unforced error.
That office absolutely fumbled this and through disorganization. And I guess they could blame focusing on the criminal matter that took longer to prosecute than any other criminal case in the state of Georgia. Yes, they missed this deadline, and the taxpayers should be deeply upset, because if these are assets and this is property that is associated with a criminal gang or obtained through illegal means, then yes, the government is powerful enough and able to take it and keep it as their own and use it for whatever they want to pursue justice in the future. In this case, the district attorney's office missed the deadline, and Judge Whitaker's order didn't even have to go into the merits of the case or the property that was seized. Rather, she decided, you missed the deadline and I can procedurally dismiss this case, which she's done now twice.
And so the Fulton County DA's office plans to comply with this order. We reached out to them to get their reaction, have yet to hear back, but this is all coming on the heels of that $6.2 million that President Trump is now looking for in legal fees to be reimbursed to him. That too happening this week. Suffice to say, it has been a tough week for the Fulton County District Attorney.
Yeah, you know, Angelique, you talked about that, Fani Willis, at the point. She had two big cases. One was against the president. The other one was in this RICO case with Young Thug, and both of those have not panned out, I'm sure, the way that she wanted them to do. Thanks so much. Well, you mentioned the president. Let's take you to Washington right now, where President Donald Trump is meeting with big oil executives here as he's hoping to charm them to return some of the investments in Venezuela. It started about 5 minutes ago, but let's listen in together, and then we'll recap afterwards as we can see President Trump is talking with them, and it's some sort of a roundtable event. Let's take you there.
It's a long time after the act took place. So they stole from us, and it was taken by socialists and communists at the time, and Venezuela was going bad, really bad. And as much oil as they have, they're producing almost nothing, which is just a system. So we're really, if you look at it, we're taking back what was taken from us. They took our oil industry. We built that entire oil industry. Started a long time ago, but they took it, and they were very ungracious to this country. But now they're being very nice. American companies will have the opportunity to rebuild Venezuela's rotting energy infrastructure and eventually increase oil production to levels never ever seen before. When you add Venezuela and the United States together, we have 55% of the oil in the world. The United States is number one. We have them drilling. Drill, baby, drill was my campaign. And Doug and Chris, I think we're setting records on drilling right now and taking oil without Venezuela. That's how we're getting the oil prices down. The plan is for them to spend, meaning our giant oil companies will be spending at least $100 billion of their money, not the government's money. They don't need government money. But they need government protection and need government security that when they spend all this money, it's going to be there so they get their money back and make a very nice return. The plan is for them to spend at least $100 billion to rebuild the capacity and the infrastructure necessary. Venezuela has also agreed that the United States will immediately begin refining and selling up to 50 million barrels of Venezuelan crude oil, which will continue indefinitely. We're all set to do it. We have the refining capacity. It was actually based very much on the Venezuelan oil, which is a heavy oil, very good oil, great oil. It's fantastic for certain things like asphalt roads, best there is in the world for asphalt roads and other things. All of the companies here today are going to be treasured partners in bringing the nation of Venezuela back to life, restoring its economy, and generating great wealth for their companies and for their people, and also great wealth for the American people, and tremendous wealth for the companies that are going in. The companies that are going in, and if you don't want to go in, just let me know, because I got 25 people that aren't here today that are willing to take your place. So I just want to thank, these are people that I either know or I know of by reading lots of business magazines and journals and papers. These are the greatest oil people anywhere in the world. Harold Hamm, I see, is here. Harold, you know, there's a story about Harold Hamm that he can look at a piece of land, put a straw into the land, and oil pours out. Is that true about you? Whereas some of you guys have to invest hundreds of millions of dollars to find that oil, so we can't let that story be true. But they say Harold puts a straw into the land, and oil comes gushing out. So you're not a big R&D person, are you, huh? He's called Instinct for Oil. Now, he's got other problems, but we won't talk about those problems. But he's been a great supporter of mine for a long time, haven't you, Harold? So congratulations. But we have, and I think Harold would agree, we have the greatest oil men and women anywhere in the world sitting in this room right now. And we have a lot of people that will be back to see us sometime next week. We're going to have another meeting for another group. But we're going to do this very quickly. We can have this done almost immediately. So I'd like to thank you all for being here. I'd like to invite Vice President Vance to say a few words, followed by Secretaries Rubio, Bergam, and Wright, and then we'll have a few words from representatives that are here and to discuss their ideas, a couple of them. We have Chevron, which has been, where's Chevron? Where are you?
Yeah, the far right.
No, I thought you'd have a better location. You were the only one that was there for all that. I used to call you and say, what the hell is going on with Venezuela? He stuck it out. I don't know if you made money or not, but you stuck it out. I got to give you a lot of credit for that. Mark Nelson, thank you very much. Exxon CEO Darren Woods. Darren, thank you very much. How's Exxon doing? Okay?
All right, thank you very much.
They'll do a lot better now, won't they? Huh? Exxon's been amazing. It's been an amazing company. And ConocoPhillips CEO Ryan Lance, thank you very much. So you guys could say something, and then we'll take some questions from the press. And if anybody else would like to speak, we'll have you speak. We have all the time in the world. This is a big subject. This is massive wealth. And more importantly than massive wealth, it leads to lower taxes and a lot of jobs for Americans and for Venezuelans, but for Americans in this case. And I just, again, appreciate you all being here. And I'd like to ask JD to say a few words, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks to everybody for being here. You know, as a Marine Corps veteran for my entire lifetime, presidents, and let's be honest, they were Democrats and Republicans, would send the American military to far-off places. They would get us involved in these endless quagmires. They would lose hundreds or thousands of American lives, and the American people would get nothing out of these misadventures. And now you have an American president who's empowered the American military to stop the flow of drugs into our country and to ensure that we, as opposed to our adversaries, control one of the great energy reserves that exist anywhere in the entire world, and he did it without losing a single American life in the process. It was an amazing operation. It's going to make our country richer. It's going to make our country more powerful. It's going to make our country safer, and it's going to lead to the decline, the further decline of drug overdose deaths in the United States of America. An amazing thing, and I'm happy to be here to talk about how we can make it an even bigger and better operation for the American people. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Marco?
Thank you, Mr. President. And I think this is a reminder that everything this president does, everything President Trump does, is with the American people in mind. It was not in the national interest or national security of the United States and of our people to have in our own hemisphere a country, not just with vast energy reserves, but controlled by an indicted narco trafficker who flooded our country with illegal immigration, including drug gang members, openly cooperated with drug gangs, and by the way, stole the wealth of that country to fund a repressive regime and also benefit adversaries such as Iran. All of that is now changing. As part of this process, the first phase, of course, is the phase we're in now, which is the stabilization phase. We do not want to see destabilization in the country. We're working very cooperatively with the interim authorities there to provide a market for the sale of the wealth of Venezuela in such a way that benefits the people, both of the United States but also the people of Venezuela. And as a reminder to everyone, the President announced this just 2 days ago. Every penny, everything they buy with the money that they're making from the oil now, Mr. President, will be bought from America. And that includes everything from equipment for the oil industry to food to medicine and everything in between. The second will be a phase of recovery, and then some of these phases will interlap, and that is to have a normal economy again where the money goes to the benefit of people, not the benefit of our adversaries or the benefit of elements in that country and around the world that are against our interests. At the same time as a process of reconciliation has to happen internally among the different sectors of society and politics and the like. And finally, the third phase, which is the most important of the three, is when the country fully transitions into a normal country that we have strong economic and diplomatic and relations with, that is friendly towards the United States, that's not a foothold for our adversaries, that serves our interests, but also the interests of the people. It'll be a country that is wealthy, a country that is prosperous for the people, not for a handful of criminals, but also a country that is supportive of our interests in the region and throughout the world. And we thank you, Mr. President, and the team you've assembled that have brought us to this point. A lot of work remains, important work, but this is historic.
Okay, thank you very much. Doug?
Well, Mr. President, I want to thank you for your leadership, not just as President, but as Commander-in-Chief. The boldness, the execution, the breathtakingly precise work that you've delivered both in Iran back in June and here has changed the field for the whole world. And you always ran about the idea of peace and prosperity. And in Venezuela, as you know, this was a playground for every bad actor in the world. We had Russians, Iran, terror groups, all of them profiting from this criminal organization that was pretending to run the country. That makes America safer. You've secured the border. We're stopping the flow of drugs. And now with the normalization of relationships on an economic basis, it's going to mean tremendously for the prosperity of the American people. So I just want to say again, congratulations to you and to the entire leadership team. It's been an amazing, historic week on the scale of things that we haven't seen perhaps for 125 years in terms of the U.S. Exerting its influence over Latin America in a way that's going to make a change for generations. And on behalf of all the oil executives that are here today, Chris and I want to say thank you to all of you. It's your technology, your innovation that has put America in the place where today we are the most energy dominant country in the world. And that position is what's allowed us to take the action that we're taking with statecraft, with military action. None of that would happen if we were dependent on everybody else for energy. So you're a big part of the reason that we're able to move the way we are today, and we're grateful that you're here to be part of the solution going forward.
Thank you, Doug, and you are doing a fantastic job, and we appreciate it. Everybody appreciates it. They know who's doing well. Chris Wright?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, what we've seen in the last week is leadership matters and credibility matters. Venezuelan oil has been sanctioned for many years, and the oil just flew, those sanctions were not enforced. That oil just floated out to trafficked by bad actors of the world. The resources weren't gone to a central place. The corruption and decline of Venezuela has been a crisis for the people of Venezuela, and as Secretary Rubio said, massive spillover effects in the United States, in crime, in drugs, in kidnappings, and in taking a huge resource base and making it not exploited, not developed. The whole world is a poorer, less opportunity-rich place because of that. When you have materials underground, they've been underground for 1 million years. That does not make them a resource. That does not make them valuable for your country, your people, or the world. They only become a resource with technology, with capital, with rule of law, and a system of governance that encourages the harvesting of those resources to make the better world. And we see here the dramatic contrast between the United States, which may have less oil underground than Venezuela. We have 20 times the production of Venezuela, 20 times the impact of human betterment, massively better quality of living here in the United States. That was at risk under the last administration. We've seen a lot of attacks on the energy that makes the world go round. President Trump's election has removed those risks, has embraced reality about how the world is energized, and we are record production of oil in the United States, record production in natural gas in the United States. We've seen a meaningful decline in gasoline prices, diesel prices, travel prices because of jet fuel. And now President Trump is taking the genius of a different way to try to solve a 25-year festering problem in Venezuela, that all the traditional things have not worked. But ordering both a tremendous military operation to remove the heads of a criminal organization masquerading as a government, and then to use the power of our military, not to fire bullets, but to stop the flow of Venezuelan oil to the world, immediately gave us leverage over.
All right, welcome back. We have been listening in together as the president is meeting with top oil executives there at the White House. Here's who we heard from. Of course, we heard from President Donald Trump. And this all happening as they discuss restoring Venezuelan oil. This comes after the capture of Nicolas Maduro and his wife over the weekend there. We also saw Vice President J.D. Vance. We heard from Marco Rubio with the State Department. I also saw Susie Wiles there, who's the chief of staff. And we were listening to, as we came back, Chris Wright, who is the director of energy. While they were talking, I was looking to see just who are these top oil executives, the American oil executives that are there. We know some of the big names here. So Chevron, Exxon, ConocoPhillips, Continental, those type of oil executives, Shell, Marathon, Valero. So any ones that you can think of, those main brands there, were there meeting with the president as they're working and they're still talking. At some point, he'll answer some questions. So we'll keep an eye out as to what comes out of that. Again, this all comes after the Venezuelan, when we went into there and captured Nicolas Maduro and his wife there. They're here in New York City at a detention center as well. Another big story that we have been following. So this we'll keep an eye out on. We'll be right back. And coming up, coming upon the new legislation session there, Deidre Dukes has been doing a great job over the past couple of years following what's happening. Some of the state laws, I know earlier this week we talked about a possible tax that might be taken away and that will help us in income tax as well. So we'll talk with Deidre and things that you need to be aware of in the state capitol. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back on this Friday. I'm Eric Perry, covering some of the top stories there, and another one that we kind of previewed for you there. It is coming upon a new legislative session, and our Fox 5's Deidre Jukes is out there live and kind of giving us a preview of what to expect and some of the major bills or topics that are set to be tackled. Deidre.
That's right, Eric. Georgia lawmakers will head back to Atlanta, gather under the Gold Dome for the start of the 2026 legislative session on Monday. And we're told by Georgia Gang panelists Theron Johnson and Brian Robinson that we can expect to hear a lot about affordability. Now, we were told that, of course, we heard a lot about that on the statewide level as we had candidates running for statewide offices talking about that. And we're already hearing leadership here in the State House and Senate addressing issues surrounding affordability as well. And Robinson said that providing tax relief to Georgia taxpayers will be a major focus this session. Here's what he had to say about that.
Well, affordability is what everybody who is running for statewide office is talking about in this coming session, but also what we're hearing from the legislative leadership in the House and Senate. People are looking at ways to lower property taxes, to look at lowering the income tax burden. There's going to have to be some compromise. Not everybody's going to be able to get everything that they want, but at the end of the day, I do think by the end of session, we will have lowered the tax burden on Georgia's families.
Now, several members of the General Assembly, they are running for higher office, and we were told by Johnson that we can expect, due to those higher ambitions as they seek higher office, we can expect to hear a lot from those lawmakers in particular as it in regards to these bigger issues as far as taxes and the like this session.
For those who are running, and there's a lot of them, they are going to be posturing and trying to get their message out, and they want the people that they hope to vote for them to be victorious, their stances on certain issues. I think there's going to be a lot of jockeying for airtime. You're going to see a lot of people going to the well speaking on issues that they haven't spoken on in the past, but I do believe that it's going to be a very competitive legislative session. And remember, they're all trying to get out there as soon as they can, so you're going to see a lot of things happening that first month.
That's right. Again, a lot of things happening the first month, that coming from Johnson and also from Robinson, because as we saw earlier this week in regards to both the property tax and also in regards to the state income tax, you already have House leadership and Senate leadership also talking about these issues, making it known that they do plan to introduce legislation to tackle some of these issues with the ultimate goal of putting money back in the wallets of Georgia taxpayers to kind of ease some of that financial burden that we've been hearing about from Georgia taxpayers, Georgia residents here over the past year, Eric.
All right, Deidre, I am curious. We saw several new members elected into this, into the Gold Dome there. Do you think there's an eagerness, and will this be a more seasoned, or are we seeing a lot of newcomers in the political field coming in and take off running here?
Well, it's interesting. We do have a handful of newcomers because we had some special elections that took place within the past few months over the end of last year, the early part of this year. Those lawmakers, some of them have already been sworn in. But we also have some lawmakers who announced just, earlier this week even that they would not be seeking office. And so it will take some time for the legal process to play out for elections and for those new lawmakers to be put in place. So we do have still quite a number of veterans returning to the Gold Dome. But again, a lot of those, especially those in leadership positions, have already said that they're running for higher office, declared for higher office. And so it really is going to be quite an interesting legislative session on several fronts this go round.
All right, Deidre, also another question. I'm filled with them because it's so interesting as people want to know about their money. So when it comes to the income tax here in the state, I know Burt Jones is someone who is really leading this charge here, but he's also running for governor. Do you think that he is really pushing for this as he is campaigning really hard for the governorship?
That's right. That is something that he has said even over the summer that he is very serious about, focused on. He is the one who really put the committee in place that was tasked with coming up with some sort of a plan, a blueprint, so to speak, of how we could get to the point of eliminating taxes, state income tax, rapidly here in Georgia. And so you can expect that it's definitely something that is going to be a major issue that's going to be debated here in the House. We can expect to see a bill there on that in the next couple of weeks, and something that you would expect also will be talked about a lot on the campaign trail leading up to the midterms.
All right, Deidre Dukes, for those of you at home, look, she is our expert, our go-to there for all things state politics, so you can bounce any of these questions off of her, and I know you will explain it for us, because a lot of us at home, we really want to know. Deidre Dukes outside the Georgia State Capitol for us on this Friday. Thanks so much. All right, so if you were paying attention to Deidre, there are some clouds that are rolling in behind her, and it might be warm out there right now, but you know, with the warm, there's going to be something else coming in. Greg Majeski is standing by as he's tracking our weekend forecast, and here's a hint: you're going to need an umbrella.
Well, we're finally getting some much-needed rains here across North Georgia. That's a welcome relief. Obviously, we've been fighting some drought conditions. We're going to have some decent rains here, not only for the rest of today and going into tonight, but continuing into Saturday before we return to reality. So, you know the old saying that goes, you know, if you get thunder in January, you get snow within a week. That's not something we need to keep a watchful eye on there. That's a little tease for you. So anyway, we're seeing the rains here increasing here across portions of North Georgia. This will be increasing as we go in for it tonight and into tomorrow, as we're going to be looking at above normal temperatures continuing for the next couple of days. And then things are going to turn abruptly colder, especially as we go into Sunday. All right. So again, much colder as we go into the new work week. And then we got not only one shot that we're dealing with that's going to cool us down on Saturday into Sunday, but we got one coming a little bit later in the week on Thursday. It's going to be a little interesting. I have to watch that very closely. Now, as we go take a look at our severe weather outlook here for Saturday, this has just been updated here to include a level 2, level 1 for us, so most of North Georgia here, but down toward LaGrange, getting a slight level 2 in here going in for your Saturday. So watch out for that. Again, looking for some isolated severe thunderstorms, and obviously there'll be a slight tornado risk with this as well. Now, as we go and look at our hour-by-hour forecast here, as we kind of watch the showers and storms here increasing here across the area for tonight, going in for this evening, and again, some beneficial rains. Could see some localized amounts. We're talking upwards of 4 inches in some locations here. I'm going to show you that here in a minute, as we're going to continue with the rains, just waves of it. And again, some of this heavy action down here will need to be watched closely as it comes across, a potential severe. And then as this comes on through, should taper off some showers as we go into the Saturday afternoon and evening hours. Not looking bad. And then we're going to clear out and turn much colder. Look at this. We cleared everything out here going into Sunday, and Sunday morning we're back in the 30s and 40s, and it'll be a struggle to warm up on Sunday, folks. It'll also be a bit breezy. The air's going to have a bit of bite to it. So if you put those jackets away, those winter heavy coats, you're going to need them back as we go into this upcoming forecast period. Now, as far as the rainfall total amounts are concerned, okay, again, just look at some localized heavy readings up here, getting upwards of 2 inches plus up here near Gainesville, almost 4 inches there in Canton, 3.5 inches up near LJ. So everybody up here getting some pretty good needed rain. So the lake basins like Lake Lanier, Lake Chattooga, areas like up there near Blue Ridge also will get some much needed rains and help bring those lake levels up at least a little bit. Now, it's not a drought buster, but it's something we definitely need here across our area. So our forecast weekend, again, going to be 70 degrees, pretty mild there on Saturday, 90% chance of showers and storms, but we cool right back down to 48 after morning low of 41 on Sunday. So turning much colder going into Sunday, and then going into Monday and Tuesday morning, we're going to see lows getting down below freezing. So we got below freezing here on Monday and Tuesday. We're pretty set, I think, with this forecast right through Tuesday and going into Wednesday. The question mark is going to be on Thursday. Thursday, right now, the new model guidance is coming in here. We're waiting on the European to come in here to kind of to check the two. is turning much colder here, and with the cold air coming in here on Wednesday night going into Thursday morning, we could see a wintry mix of some flurries and snow showers across north Georgia going into Thursday, and then going into the following weekend gets even more interesting. So the bottom line here is that we're transitioning into a winter weather pattern, one that is more conducive for the potential snows here across the southeast. Just know that it's going to change day to day as we go through the next couple of weeks. So it's got a little bit of fun here in the weather office.
I don't know if fun would be the word that I use there. You know, we don't really handle the S word very well, so we're going to be very careful with that one. My grandmother used to call this sick weather, when it's up one day and down the other. All right, stick with us. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back on this Friday. Hey, how about saving some money, especially when it comes to your energy costs? Who else's bill has been up? I know mine has definitely been up for sure. Chris Rosenthal is. They're talking a unique way, Chris. I mean, we're talking about solar panels, and they have been saving about $50 a month in their bills. Walk us through what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm at the greenhouse community here in Marietta. This is a community Beazer Homes is building. 591 homes, each home to have a solar panel on it, which is the largest community in Georgia with solar panels. And here to talk with me about it is Andrew with Beazer Homes. And tell me a little bit about, I mean, let's get right to the numbers. What's the savings here in something like this?
Yeah, so let's talk about kind of the utility bill. With solar, because of how energy efficiently we build our homes, we're able to put the renewable resource that is solar panels on top of our homes. What that equals is a 90% offset, which is offset of what the home is energy output. From a dollar's perspective, a $50 a month average utility bill, which is really impactful. If you think about, the homes across Cobb County, average around $200 a month on utility bills. So $150 savings on our homes here is really meaningful, especially when, affordability is top of mind for everyone.
Yeah, and so it's not, you're not getting rid of your you're not going off the grid. You're still with the power company, but that those solar panels really do offset.
Yeah, 90% is a real offset. And, I will say that, solar panels, you can put them on most homes, but what really makes them impactful here for our homes that we build at Beazer is that we start from a really, really strong point of energy efficiency. So, when, we're 60 to 70% more efficient than a code-built home, you match that or you pair that with putting a solar installation on the home, it's really meaningful energy savings.
Because and by the way, Eric, I'd show you the solar panels, but it's actually raining outside, ironically enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a whole system here. I mean, it's about what's behind the walls sometimes too.
Absolutely. We 2x6 construction, which no doubt it's more durable. It's a 2x6 versus 2x4. You feel the difference in the weight, but it creates a deeper cavity for insulation. And then you put Tyvek or a weather barrier around that, creates a really tight envelope that creates the basis for energy savings, but also a really comfortable home, less air changes per hour. A home with really clean air. Also, it's pretty quiet in here right now. Yeah. We have active construction going on next door.
If solar panels may not be accessible to you at the moment, there are still things that you can do to save some money. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, some simple things. First off, I think you need to think about kind of your time horizon at your current home. Like, how long do you plan on being there? Because that can then inform how much money do I want to invest in some of these energy saving features. Smart thermostats, that's obviously on the relatively less expensive end. Programming it so that it lives how you live, when you're home, when you're not at home, when you're asleep, when you're awake. Really good, easy opportunity to get some energy savings there. Appliances, obviously that's a big one. Go to your local or convenient home improvement store. Check the energy efficiency ratings on those appliances. What we call leak. Looking at your windows, I think the best thing to do is to talk to your local HVAC contractor and see if they can come do an energy assessment. A lot of the municipalities, utility providers will do energy assessments as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And even a decorative thing like the blinds.
Some drapes, absolutely.
The blinds and drapes can make a real big difference in keeping some of that heat out. So yeah, lots of great options here as you're building out all the homes here.
Yeah. So it's like you said, Chris, 591 homes, and we got 4 different product offerings: single-family ranches, 2 stories. It's a little bit of something for everyone.
Cool, awesome. Well, thanks for the tips and the advice.
Thanks for coming out. Yeah.
All right, Chris, before we go, I'm going to use your body so you can ask Andrew a question on behalf of me and a lot of people. What are the most common misconceptions? I think, someone might say, oh, my home is older, I can't afford it. Why should someone really do this? And what are one of the most, common misconceptions or false things that he hears all the time when it comes to solar panels?
What are Anchor's asking? What are some people come in? What are some of the misconceptions that you hear that people might have when it comes to solar panels?
I think you think about sacrifice. I think when it comes to living in an energy conscious or energy efficient manner, there's a sacrifice associated with that, and I don't think that's true here. You'll get meaningful savings from your utility bills, but you'll also get a home that's really comfortable to live in with consistent air temperatures, that has really pure air. Like, there's almost a misconception that living in a energy conscious manner has to come with a catch, and I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
All right,
so,
Chris.
There you go, Eric. Yeah.
Chris Rosenthal, that's what I was curious of. Thanks so much. All right, so Chris mentioned a little bit that it was raining outside where he was. Well, it's starting to rain here in Metro Atlanta downtown. Let's get you outside. A live look of Mercedes-Benz. I can assure you the rain is not stopping the show. It's the Chick-fil-A Bowl, Peach Bowl there. Kicks off a big competition happening tonight there at 7 o'clock. As you can see, a lot of people, a lot of hustle and bustle that's going on right there. The Fan Fest is happening starting around 2:30, but people have been there all throughout the day as the Ducks and the Hoosiers will square off tonight inside the Benz. 7:30, that game will be on television there, and a lot of people coming in town, and look, the weather is not going to stop it. Hey, our Lexi Bowden sat down with the head coach of Indiana there, Curt Cignetti, talking a little bit about getting into his mind, how he's helping his team prepare for tonight, a huge game that's happening, and can't wait to see that one-on-one exclusive sit-down.
Coach, a big day ahead. Just how'd you wake up feeling today?
Well, still preparation to be done. Player meetings at 11, staff meeting 2:30, pregame 4 o'clock, walkthrough. It's all about preparation, still developing that sharp edge, and got to put it on field against a great opponent.
Yeah, this is a rematch of Week 6 when you defeated then number 3 Oregon in their home stadium. What has evolved about their team since then?
Well, I think all really good teams that have had success, they get better through repetition. Repetition's the mother of learning. And guys play faster, more instinctively. They're in the right spot more often, less missed assignments. You never know the things you can't control, injuries, things of that nature, how teams change. But Oregon, they're a great football team. They're great in all 3 phases. And I feel like, we've met every challenge up to this point and cleared some hurdles, especially on the road. So we're probably a little different football team too in some ways. Yeah. That'd be a great game.
And you've said it yourself, it's hard to beat good teams twice. Why is that especially challenging at this point in the season?
Yeah, well, Oregon's a great football team, and that's a saying that's out there. But, I also maintain it's hard to beat a great team once. So.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. And just Fernando Mendoza, he's such a delight. The clips on him go viral of saying Mercedes-Benz is like Disney World. He just seems like such a good kid. But how have you watched him grow throughout this season?
Yeah, his development's been pretty incredible. Yeah. When we got him, I knew he was a great prospect. I really liked him on tape at Cal. He needed some work in the pocket. We had a new quarterback coach as well. But the way I've seen him grow, he competes like a lion, plays his best football at the end of the games. He's improved in every single area that he needed to improve in. But he's an incredible person, and which we've all seen through his interviews. He's highly intelligent. He's got a great value system. He cares about others. He's a great leader. He doesn't lead verbally so much as by his actions, which is the best way to lead. And when the chips are down and he's had to play his best, game on the line, 4th quarter, plays his best ball.
Well, he's awesome, and I love that he has his LinkedIn all updated. He's a scholar, too. Switching gears a little bit, just being here in Atlanta, there are a lot of Kirby Smart fans, and I know you spent some time with him on Coach Saban's staff. Obviously, that's been talked about a lot during the playoffs, but what do you think it was about that organization and system that allowed you guys to become successful head coaches in your own right?
Well, Nick was extremely organized. He had a plan for everything. He was a great leader. When you're successful like that, you got to have the team ready week in, week out. So you got to sort of stalk complacency, so to speak. And you got to get the most out of people. Your staff and the players and coaches are really good at that. And I think we all learned from him, and it's benefited us all greatly, no doubt.
Do you still keep in touch with Kirby?
It's been a while.
Well, you guys are across the country, I guess. Sticking with Georgia, 9 players on your team from the state of Georgia. Why is this region important to your recruiting?
Oh, Georgia's one of the great recruiting areas of the country, and it's not that far from Bloomington. So we've got good players from Georgia, and keep that going.
One with Lexi Bowden there. The Oregon Ducks, Indiana Hoosiers take the field, 7:30, of course, right there, Mercedes-Benz. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Our time is ending here, but want to get to a couple of local stories. Let's begin with Frederick Douglass High School here in Atlanta, where earlier we know that there was some sort of a lockdown. This is Skyfox 5 that flew over the scene. They saw some of the things. Seth Coleman, who is with Atlanta Public Schools, says that they were on an exterior lockdown. There was some sort of a threat that was made to the school. Atlanta Police working with Atlanta Public Schools Police, those two different agencies, working to figure out the credibility, but of course, they're taking all of this very seriously, as we don't want anything to come out of this. And of course, we'll keep that updated. Let's take you to Rockdale County. Yesterday, we told you about a body that was found. Skyfox 5 has been very busy over the past couple of days. We know that a deadly shooting, there was some sort of a body that was found. And I do want to take this video out of there, out of the sensitivity of some of the elements there that was there, because we do know that there was some sort of a body that was found in the back. We're also learning that a child was injured in this shooting and they're in critical condition. So that's a big story that we've been following as well. But we have a couple of minutes left. I want to end on a lighter note, and let's talk a little bit about pizza. So there is a new study that is coming out that pizza, which used to be the second most common food here in the country, it says that Americans are falling out of love with it. That's coming from the Wall Street Journal there. It says that pizza shops are now outnumbered by coffee shops and Mexican food eateries there. So there are also now the price wars with other people there. $31 billion in sales in 2024. That's what they generated. And it sounds like they are declining there, as pizza used to be very, very dominant. So I'm very curious. Do you like pepperoni? Do you like regular cheese pizza? What is your go-to order? I think pizza is always a great way to end the day. If you ever need something to do, you can always end the day with a slice of pizza. But sounds like they are getting a run for their money with coffee shops and other Mexican eateries as well. All right, I hope I left you hungry there, wanting more. Maybe get some pizza on this Friday night. It's been such a pleasure to be with you here as we get ready for Fox 5 News at 4, following the stories from the week and the day. Of course, Christine Spiro will have you covered. Thanks for joining us on this Friday, and hey, shout out to the pizza lovers out there.